What's up, duelists? Today I'm starting a brand new series, and this is a series that I don't even know if there's going to be more episodes of, but if you do like it, make sure and leave a comment in the comment section below saying I want more of the stacked series, and if you want more, I'll do what I can to make it happen. But basically what happened was there was a lot of really strong players in Las Vegas last weekend, and I was like, yo, let's all get together and play some games. And so we all linked up and we all played some games. In this photo, you'll notice Swagger, Pizza, AJT BLS, 10FD, and Monster Gamer. I'm sure you know these guys. They've topped countless tournaments between the five of them. They've won countless tournaments between the five of them. So, yeah, basically what we did was we just got together. We played some games. We tried some new decks. We shot some gameplay footage, and I've got 3 matches of this stacked playtest group coming together. Just playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm gonna give you guys some commentary. The first match I want to show you guys is between Pizza and 10FD. So if you don't know, these guys have both like topped RBETs and shit. I don't fucking know. 10FD won an RBET. Pizza's topped several RBETs. He's topped Orlando. I think he topped RBET LA recently. He topped one of the first RBETs with Norlaris Dragons. And they're going to start things off with a die roll. I actually probably need to speed up these recordings just because it's going to be too long if I don't. Alright, so they roll the dice, drawing their cards. 10FD is playing, I believe, Hero Frog, and Pizza's playing Hero Frog, and 10FD is playing Hybrid Blackwings. That's what's up. Yeah. So 10FD is playing Monster Gamer's deck. Basically what we were doing was we were trying to get everybody's deck all together, and just trying to find matchups that we needed to test or matchups that would be interesting to record or whatever. And don't mind the camera movement. It's kind of just like happening because my setup was super jank because we were under like some pretty serious time constraints to get everybody in the room for a couple of hours and record and set everything up all at once. Anyway, yeah, so starts off with Stratos, searches, I believe, the Evil Guy Prodigy. 10FD thinks for like a little while here. And one thing about 10FD's hand, which is really interesting, is he has Black Whirlwind and Sirocco in his hand, and he decides not to play it. And I think that this is a really bad play from 10FD. I don't know how to say it. And I'm going to actually walk you through the thought process, right? So, like, let's say the back row is Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. If you summon Sirocco and you attack Stratos, he doesn't even have to Wind Blast you. He can just let the Stratos die. On his turn, he can go Evil Guy Caius, banish the Sirocco, and now he still has the Wind Blast for the Sirocco. Now, if you go Whirlwind Sirocco and he has MST, it's like, okay, the MST is always going to trade for the Whirlwind, unless you were trying to bait an MST, in which case you wouldn't summon Sirocco. But I think it's pretty rare from the Frog decks, and 10FD does know that he is playing Frogs, that they would set MST turn 1, because if they don't, if your opponent doesn't set any back row, then your Treeborn is dead for the rest of the game. So usually Frog players will never, ever, ever set MST turn 1 blind in the dark going first. So I think it's pretty safe to assume it's not MST. If it's going to be anything that's going to stop the Sirocco, it's going to be either Torrential or it's going to be Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Now maybe he doesn't want to expose his Black Whirlwind in case the back row is Torrential, and then the Evil Guy can banish the Black Whirlwind. But because he has like a pretty decent hand with regards to follow-up, I think just like forcing the Caius, forcing the Evil Guy play now, when that Evil Guy Caius play can happen at any point in the game, is good. And I think taking that trade with Black Whirlwind is good. But yeah, if you activate the Whirlwind, then you normal the Sirocco, he's forced to Wind Blast you now. And it forces the Wind Blast when your opponent might not have a great discard. And it also forces it this turn, so on later turns, your opponent's going to be very back row light, and you can actually play the game. Yeah, of course, it does suck to get like either your Sirocco or your Whirlwind Wind Blasted, but I still think that like forcing it earlier is better because it's still going to be there later. So it's not like the Whirlwind is getting better the longer you wait, unless you rip into yet another monster normal summon and Heavy Storm, and that's at least 2 draw steps away, and your opponent's going to be amassing their advantage as it stands. Plus, like, there's a chance he just Wind Blasts the Sirocco anyway, but we'll get into that. He summons the Sirocco, he attacks, and that's just going to work. So Pizza's going to take 200 here. I'm manually inputting the life points during the matches, so it might be a little bit delayed from when they actually take damage. But yeah, Sirocco's going to connect, and yeah, that's going to be that. That's going to be all she wrote for that. He's going to go ahead and special Evil Guy, activate Substitute, sack the guys. sack the boys, and just get all the frogs out of the deck. He's going to go swap, send the guy, and then second swap, send the guy. And you'll notice that Pizza is playing 2 swap frogs. This is an innovation from David from, David from RBET's list, second place list. And you'll notice that usually when people are playing 2 swap frogs, they are playing the draw traps alongside it. So yet another reason for him to have activated that whirlwind is potentially draw traps here. Anyway, 10FD is going to draw a card for a turn. He's going to look at his board. He's going to be like, what do I do? 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 Big thonk, big think, big thonk. He's big thinking. He's big thonking. He's still thinking, and he's still thonking. And he's still thinking. This boy loves to think. I'll give him that. He does spend... How long was his play? I'm going to be on... Okay, so he draws for turn at... Here comes final cut, set back row, pass the turn. That is at 3:22. So let's watch this clock. 3:23 right now, 3:29. This is something that we were paying super close attention to in our testing because some of these guys have a tendency to go into time. And so we were practicing playing at a reasonable pace because if you're not playing at a reasonable enough pace, then you're going to get stuck going into time. And this is something that I think everyone should practice, not just good players, but it's something you can definitely focus on once you have a good idea of the game. So as of right now, it's taken him a full minute to make a play. He hasn't made a play yet, and it's been a full minute. And now he's going to normal summon Bora. So that's 2 whirlwind searches that he could have had he activated the whirlwind. He could have activated the whirlwind again now. And now I actually think there's even more of a reason to activate the whirlwind. Because if you activate the whirlwind and you normal summon Bora, then you can chainlink 1 whirlwind, and even if he torrentials you, the dupe misses timing, and it's 2 for 3 in your favor. So this is yet another pretty poor play from 10FD here. He's going to pump the Bora, and he's going to attack the dupe frog, and especially because the Sirocco attack went through last turn, the first back row is probably a blink. And he's going to be able to connect a bit more damage here, but I don't really know what he's thinking. He's just going to set a back row and pass. So even though I know he has whirlwind in hand, because as you can see, the computer's right next to him. I'm sitting right next to him, so I'm able to see his hand. So that's something that I know. I don't know what's in Pizza's hand, but I do know that no matter what was in Pizza's hand or what his back row is, you should definitely play the whirlwind there, and you should not play like slow with black whirlwind. That's just like you're just kind of giving frogs exactly what they want. You're giving them a way to like sort of play this long game where they can get established, get set up, get card advantage on you, and then by the time you're actually going for the whirlwind, maybe they've found one of their few pieces of ways to interact with your normal summon. So you're just giving them too much time. Treeborn's going to come back. He's going to use 2 draw traps, so it's definitely making 10FD look silly for not using the whirlwind. And what's funny earlier was we were playtesting a bit, and 10FD was playing his signature version of Frog Heroes. And not that I think his version is like particularly better or worse. Well, I personally think that David's version with the draw traps is significantly better, but that's like just due to the inherent consistency the draw traps bring. When we were playtesting, 10FD had a bunch of like regular traps in his deck, and I was just like playing through them. And if they had been draw traps, it would have been really, really hard for me to like ever get card advantage versus him. And so he was like, I don't like the draw traps. This is what he said. He said he didn't like the draw traps because they basically represent weak back row. But I think it's exactly the opposite. And you're kind of seeing the exact opposite in this game. Just because he sets the draw traps doesn't mean he doesn't have real back row in his deck. Like, doesn't mean he doesn't have Torrential or Space Typhoon or cards that you need to respect, right? So it's just like basically always threatens cards that need to be respected. And 10FD is forced to play like this super weak dog shit game plan with his Black Whirlwind because he's playing scared of like cards that don't exist. Or don't exist currently in the back row that he knows about. Anyway, Heavy Storm looks like it's found. He's going to activate. There comes Royal Oppression. Or he's going to activate Substone, sacking the Treeborn. He's going to activate Royal Oppression. It's going to be a 1-for-1, or a +1 for 10FD, which is a pretty good +1. But, yeah. I think that Pizza does have Heavy Storm in his hand, and he could have used the Heavy Storm there. But now he's probably pretty happy that his opponent is locked under Royal Oppression, and that way he doesn't have to face down something scary like Darkarm Dragon. Here comes Caius. Caius can now banish one of the monsters. Usually here you would banish Sirocco. That's what I would banish at least. Yeah, it's pretty much always banish Sirocco. There's really no reason to banish Bora, because Royal Oppression is face up. He's going to choose to banish Bora, and that's just a misplay. That's just like a hard misplay. So he's going to make Blizzard dead by doing this, and I believe there is a Blizzard in 10FD's hand, but Blizzard's dead anyway because Royal Oppression is face up. So like 10FD would have to heavy storm his own Oppression, then Blizzard back Bora, and it's like that's going to take 3 cards to out 1 Caius and not even deal that much damage. So I think he made a mistake there, banishing the wrong card. Not that it ended up mattering because there was no Kalut present to defend the Anchor Monster. Here comes double Black Whirlwind from 10FD. He had been sandbagging double Whirlwind, and he's going to normal summon another Sirocco. I'm going to flash it for the camera there so you guys can see it. There was a bit of a glare issue, but hopefully I'll get that fixed up for the next episode. Like I said, we had to set everything up in like very little time, and so there wasn't a lot of time to get everything perfect. We just wanted to record as much gameplay as possible, and I think these matches are really good. Anyway, double Whirlwind is still going to be really strong even after missing all those searches, and it looks like 10FD is going to search for Shura and Kalut, which makes the most sense. Shura cascades the best with the double Whirlwind, and Kalut helps you immediately get over the Caius right now, if that's something that 10FD wanted to do. And I think that is something that 10FD definitely wanted to do. He's just going to attack over the Caius, deal 1,000, and Pizza's going to drop a little bit lower in life points and just pass the turn. No additional back row, so everything's going to be cleared up here with the heavy storm that's in Pizza's hand. He can definitely clear up the double Whirlwinds and the Royal Oppression. He's going to bring out Treeborn first. He's got a Swap Frog in hand. Maybe he's playing 3 Swap Frog. I thought he was playing 2, but looks like he's playing 3. He should definitely be playing only 2, though. I think you don't want to be playing 3 Swap Frogs. That's it's definitely unnecessary, especially with the draw traps. It just bricks past a certain point. It's just extra bricks in your deck, more or less. Anyway, he's going to bring back Treeborn. He's going to normal summon Junk. Junk's going to bring out the Swap Frog. And now that he knows that the 1 Kalut is gone, he can make Goyo Guardian here and steal the Sirocco if he wanted to. Or he could just make Goyo Guardian and not steal the Sirocco. Looks like what he's going to do is make Bryonic, actually, which is a very interesting play. I'm not really a big fan of it because I don't really know why you'd want to bounce the Sirocco and give him the opportunity unless you had to specifically get a card in the graveyard like Water for an Absolute Zero. But pitching the Sangan there doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I would have rather kept the Sangan because there's still another Junk Synchron in the deck. This is going to attack for 5,300. The Absolute Zero gets pumped up to 3,000, and then the Bryonic gets to connect. This does turn off brain control for 10FD, which is one of the ways that he would get back into this game. So pretty big switch off there. And you do know the hand is like Sirocco, Shura. But there comes Blizzard into Kalut. Or not, yeah, Blizzard into Kalut, and that's going to clear both monsters because Ally of Justice Catastrophe can answer both these cards. Now at this point, that third Swap Frog in the hand is looking like a brick. So I don't know if Pizza had changed the list from the second place list or what, but yeah, you definitely don't want to play the third Swap Frog. It's pretty bad. So here Pizza has a couple options. He's going to be able to just normal Swap Frog and see what's up, and then he can just trade with the Catastor and then attack directly with the Swap Frog. And honestly, 10FD just like opening a good hand but choosing not to use the cards until he was like ready to get beat the fuck out by like a Bryonic Miracle Fusion play definitely cost him that game. I think he just played scared of the back row, and I think as the meta evolves, we're going to have to see more people taking risks because the draw traps are going to be there, and is it going to be a real back row or not? And I think that in this particular instance, even if it was a real back row, it was better for 10FD to play into it. Because if he hadn't played into it, then the real back row is still going to be there. Like, are you hoping to draw specifically Heavy Storm yourself? Is that what you're waiting for? Because you don't really have that luxury. It's more likely, too, if you look at like an average Blackwing or hybrid Blackwing composition, that you're going to draw into more monsters than you are to draw into specifically Heavy Storm. And in that case, it's best to use your first monsters to force the back row, and then your second monsters to follow up and continue applying that pressure and never lose the initiative. It felt like 10FD had the initiative had he just activated Whirlwind turn 1 that game, but he abandoned it for no reason. And that's the thing with Frogs too, is Frogs will beat you if you ever abandon your initiative and then don't manage to have a big turn. And 10FD just never managed to have a big turn, really. The turn where he searched Shura plus Kalut probably should have just searched Gale or something. I don't know. Like, just search something that in case the oppression and the whirlwinds went gone, he could have a big turn, basically. So yeah, not searching Gale there was probably a mistake too. There's a bunch of stuff that he did that game that I don't necessarily agree with. But hey, they're going to sideboard here. I'm going to go ahead and skip through this so we can just get to the gameplay. I don't really know what these guys sideboard in this matchup, but I can kind of give you guys an overview of what I like to side in this matchup. From the Frog side, I like a Dust Tornado if they have it. It's pretty good. I also like just generic decent cards. It's a pretty good matchup for Hero Frogs. Post board, well, I don't know. Game 1, it's a pretty good matchup. I think Game 2, it's pretty hard. You have to make sure not to lose all of your outs to Fossil Dyna, because that guy's pretty annoying. I think it's mostly like, basically, I like to bring in Cyber Dragon, Fossil Dyna, and Dust Tornado from the, or no, sorry. I like to bring in Cyber Dragon and Fossil Dyna from the Blackwing side, and then I like to bring in Dust Tornado from the Frog side, and just very simple sideboarding. Like, generally speaking, your Game 1 configuration should be your best configuration against Blackwings, give or take a few cards for sideboarding strategies. Like, if your opponent didn't side, you would also not want to side versus Blackwings because it's the most popular matchup. So you want your Game 1 deck to be as good as possible versus Blackwings, considering it's the most popular matchup. I don't know if that makes sense, but here comes Heavy Storm, and there comes Starlight Road, and that's going to be all she wrote. So 10FD elects to leave in Starlight Road versus Frogs. Not a lot of people do that, but it's going to work out well for 10FD. The reason why Starlight Road is not very good versus Frogs is it gives them a monster for Soul Exchange if they play it. It also just like doesn't really go off if they're just monarching you into the back row. Like, it really only resolves here. I'm gonna pause it real quick while I talk about this. It really only resolves if they have specifically Heavy Storm. Otherwise, Starlight Road is just another dead back row versus Frogs. If they don't have Heavy Storm, then they're gonna be ripping you apart with like Caius, Ryza, Unifrog, whatever. And in all of those circumstances, Starlight Road is ass. And that's like 99% of the games versus Frogs. It's like maybe 5% of the games they see their Heavy Storm and play into the road. Like, that's literally it. Because the Monarchs and the Frogs like naturally play well into back row anyway. Like, you'll see like 2 or 3 set and you'll just be like, whatever, I'm gonna summon my Caius and like I'll just go +1 into any back row already. And so as a result, Starlight Road is gonna be pretty dead. Now, the reason he might have kept it in is because he might know that the Draw Traps version of this deck does play Torrential and Mirror Force, and so it does have a few more ways to trigger it. Starlight Road on Absolute Zero can come up too as well, but generally speaking, it's not going to be that great because Starlight Road needs to destroy the card itself in order to special summon the Stardust Dragon, but Absolute Zero is never going to activate in a zone where it can be destroyed. So I think unless it's returned to extra, I could be wrong about that. But basically, like, let's say they summon Absolute Zero and they attack, and then you deprison it, and then the Absolute Zero effect activates and you Starlight Road it. It's still a 2-for-1 versus you, like, because you don't get the Stardust there because the Absolute Zero is already banished, it can't be destroyed, and then because Starlight Road can't destroy the Absolute Zero, you don't get the Stardust. So there are a few instances where Starlight Road will come up more against specifically Pizza's build, but I generally think it's like one of the first cards I side out versus Frogs, because the average game is not gonna be good, basically. There's Dust Tornado. He's not gonna negate that with Stardust Dragon. Oh, the Stardust Dragon already got used. It got banished by the DD Assailant. My bad. I was monologuing and I forgot that happened. DD Assailant is a card that Dimitri sided in his top 8 list from Ultimate Time Wizard. I think it's a pretty good card. Here comes Deprison on the Stratos. There's still no Frog down there for Pizza. 10FD has all the initiative. I mean, this game's going to be quick. He's got Vayu in play. He's going to sacrifice it for Sirocco. And then he's going to attack with both his monsters. Man, that glare is annoying. I should have factored that in when we are recording. I tried to fix it in one of the later matches a little bit better. You'll see. Passes the turn back. There's an enemy controller on top. He accidentally flips it. Shuffles it back. Whatever. No harm done. We're just testing here. He's at 1600. I just don't see how this ends in any way besides, like, devastation. 10FD's looking at his hand. This boy really does like to take his time, which is fair. I think, like, if you're taking longer than 45 seconds to think about a play, though, you're going to get called for slow play really fast. He's going to pump the Sirocco. attack the set dupe. Dupe's going to search for Swap Frog, and that's going to be pretty good. You can make an argument here to search for Treeborn Frog in case you top deck Swap Frog. You could like pitch special to Swap Frog or something like that, but it's all the same, I guess. And you could like threaten a discard trap or something. There's going to be a second value summon because this is hybrid Blackwings, and there are 3 values in the deck. Setback row, pass, I believe. Draw for turn is... I don't even know what that was. There's a Soul Exchange in hand. He drew double Swap Frog and a bunch of frog stuff, and he's just going to concede. Dead to the brain control that's getting played. And yeah, so they're going to be moving on to game 3. So like I said, the Swap Frogs are like bricks, basically, past a certain point in the game. Like if you aren't on turn 1 summoning a Swap Frog, then the Swap Frog is like a pretty bad draw, I would say. Anyway, moving on. Game 3. So game 3, Frogs does really well because they have the initiative to get the Treeborn Frog in the graveyard. I also wanted to comment here because I believe they both pile shuffle before going into the next game. And I do want to comment for players who tend to play a little bit slower that pile shuffling is dumb as shit. It not only mathematically speaking doesn't randomize your deck any better than regular shuffling does, it's the same. Like there's no proof that pile shuffling does anything other than riffle shuffling does. In fact, there's like so many videos on this topic where people are saying like pile shuffling is just a waste of time, to the point where pile shuffling was actually like banned or considered slow play in certain competitive TCGs. I would never recommend pile shuffling, and I would also never recommend pile shuffling if you're a little bit more of a methodical player to begin with. It's just a guaranteed way to go into time more than you really need to. So yeah, once again, practicing for the clock. This game runs up all the way right until the clock, and I was also there like reminding them of the clock and rushing them. But this is a game that definitely would have gone into time in game 3 had they not had someone there reminding them of the clock, or saying, hey, you guys should play a little faster, this, that, etc. All right, Swap Frog going to get summoned, and this is what I'm talking about. They have all the initiative. Like, you can usually take one hit as the Frog player here and not be that upset. And then, yeah, you can just pass, like, and now you get, next turn you basically get a functional draw too. Like, you get a draw card and you get the Treeborn Frog, and, like, as a Blackwing player, you really have to find a way to get that initiative back, and it's pretty hard. It's genuinely pretty hard. The Hybrid Blackwing deck does a little bit better job of it, because they can have a turn where they like normal Sirocco, special Greffer, and then pump up their Armed Wing or whatever. He's going to summon Shura and attack for 18. This is fine. He's going to Soul Release the one Treeborn Frog past the turn. This is kind of like the downside of Soul Release, is like sometimes you just have to shotgun it to keep him off the Treeborn Frog, but that's just a raw +1. And he went first, so you're looking at like 7 cards versus your 5. He can just blind Typhoon. He's going to hit the road. But yeah, like I said, this is kind of exactly what happens. Like, people will just like Typhoon into your back row. They'll just fucking like Unifrog pop your back row. They'll Caius you. They don't even give a shit about the back row. Look at this. He's just special summoning Swap Frog. He doesn't even care that you have a trap card. You think he cares? He doesn't care at all. He doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, fuck that. He's going to send another swap. I think actually here, yeah, that's probably right, because you play 3 swaps. If you played 2 swaps, I would say send nothing, but it's all the same. He gets sacked for Caius. Yeah, look at this. What are you going to do? Icarus? Like, you can't even do anything. What would that Starlight Road have done? What if he hit the other back row instead of the Starlight Road? You know what I mean? Like, you're just like yeah, okay, you gave him a 50-50 or whatever, but like, you could do that with a better card, you know what I mean? Or just have a live card there instead of the Starlight Road. Like, they're just not going to draw heavy that frequently for Starlight Road to ever matter. He's going to check the graveyard. There's one Treeborn down. He's got, 3 cards in hand, 1 card in grave. That being said, it was a pretty big committal play to get this Caius in play from Pizza. Like, he could have maybe just taken another 18 and then Caius the next turn off a free Treeborn, but unfortunately the Treeborn was in his hand, so he couldn't afford to like set the Treeborn, and he couldn't get it in the grave any other way. So yeah, a little bit awkward. Once again, the Frogs just fucking breaks, man. They're so annoying to draw. Like, every time I play a Frog deck, I'm like, oh, this deck is going to be unbeatable as I'm loading it up. And then I get into the game and my hand's like double swap Treeborn. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, there's Sirocco Kalute that's going to run over Caius, deal 1,000. And we've initiated like basically just the back and forth race that becomes, can I draw enough Monarchs? Here comes the Unifrog, attacks, pops the brain control. that was set. So he set brain control next to Starlight Road. It's just like a really bad play versus specifically frogs for a lot of reasons. But yeah, you just lose your cards if you commit them to the board. Generally speaking, you don't want to be committing cards to the board that much versus frogs, because it just makes their monarchs so good. It makes their monarchs get so much value. You want to commit as little as possible. That's like the plan A versus frogs. Obviously, once you get to the point where you've like established like a synchro and like a boss monster, then you want to set back row 2. Then you want to overload. It's like you want to sandbag and then you want to overload versus frogs. You don't really want to like. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, he's gonna go Blizzard, Whirlwind, search for Vayu, Blizzard target Kalut, bring out the Kalut. Here comes a Vayu. Vayu gets added to hand. Blizzard plus Sirocco plus Kalut in play is like not terrible, but it's like not doing the most, you know? Like, what does this do? There's a Vayu in hand. I'm curious to see where this goes. But that being said, Pizza's hand kind of looked ass. I think I saw a Miracle in there, which is like obviously dead. A lot of thinking. A very deliberate turn. I want to go back to the Blizzard play a little bit. The Blizzard play was at 32 minutes, and that attack declared was at 30. So it was a minute and a half to declare an attack. Just something you got to be careful of, man. Like a minute and a half to think through. Like, these pivotal turns is sometimes okay, but just like every turn, it can definitely add up. He's going to synchro main phase 2. He's going to make Magical Android, I believe. And that's going to play right into Torrential Tribute. So, pretty good weight there for Pizza. The way 10FD sequenced his turn, he would have not been able to Torrential on the Kalut summon. And here comes Caius to banish the Whirlwind, and Caius to attack directly for 24. And that's going to make things really hard for 10FD. He's going to set Vayu past the turn. Here comes Pizza, and Pizza's going to make a mistake here. I believe he made a mistake earlier not attacking with Caius too. I forget to point that mistake out. He missed an attack with a Caius because he was scared of the set brain control. And so 10FD should, like, in theory here, be at like 1800. Not 1800, sorry. No, yeah, 1800. Yeah, he should be at 1800. But Pizza played scared earlier. And now here, I think the correct play, because you know he searched Vayu and he just drew a card and set a monster, is bring back Treeborn in attack position and then attack him. And then had he gotten that first 2400 in, he would have won the game. But, yeah, he brings it back in defense position, which is just a bad play. Because now Bora, Shura, Armed Wing, all that shit just runs it over for, like, hella damage. There's really no reason to put the Treeborn into play there. Unless your back row is, like, really good. There's just no reason to put it into play. Like, if it's a draw trap, you can always bring back the Treeborn next turn, you know? And then if it's Mirror Force or something like that, then yeah, there's a reason to put Treeborn in play. But if it's Mirror Force, then you should put it in play in attack position, attack over the Vayu, and then attack directly with Caius. So now there's a live Vayu in 10FD's graveyard, and there's 2 cards in hand, so he actually has a pretty good shot at making something happen. Here comes a normal summon Shura, and that's the big punish here. There's the enemy controller to take the Shura, not to switch it to defense. I actually think the correct play here is actually to switch it to defense, to play through possible top deck Kalut. But, yeah, no, this is just like a messy situation for Pizza that really didn't need to happen. I mean, he missed 4,800 damage. He's already, like, missed lethal this game. Just by, like, playing around stuff. It was the turn where he had the set brain control. He didn't attack directly. I forgot to point that out, but yeah, that was something that happened. Here comes an attack over the Shura. Some damage is going to be made. There's Whirlwind plus Shura. And I think that's a Shura. I believe that's a Shura. Anyways, checking Grave before he Whirlwind searches. And now this is like one of those moments where it's like, okay, he's got the stuff. Can he piece together a win? He's going to search his deck. He's going to grab probably Gale. I don't fucking know. I'd grab Gale at least. Or, I don't know, actually. Does he have lethal with the Armed Wing somehow? Yeah, he's going to grab Gale. Yeah, I think he has lethal with the Armed Wing if the back row is just a draw trap. So, yeah, it's time to go for it. I mean, fuck it. What are you gonna do? Let him draw another fucking Caius? Like, special the Gale, 10 FD, special the Gale, special the Armed Wing. That's lethal damage. You can even special the Gale in defense, too, if you wanted to. Oh my god. Yep, he's gonna special in defense, have the Caius. Attack the Caius. Search out Vayu, and then, or search out Clue. Why didn't he make the Armed Wing? Why didn't he go for game? Jesus Christ, this game was messy. Oh my god, what a messy game. Why would you not go for game? If he was going to set Mirror Force, he would have brought back Treeborn Frog. Why would he leave Treeborn Frog in his grave knowing you play Soul Release if he had Mirror Force to set there? Oh my fucking god. He's going to attack for 14. There's Legacy, and he's going to take 14, drop to 1600. But now, I mean, like, fucking Pizza's kind of fucked. He should have summoned the Armed Ring there, though. That was definitely the move. But yeah, I mean, main phase 2, 10FD could have made a synchro there with Gale and Kalut, or with Gale and Shura, but he elects to leave the Gale in play. I wonder why he did that. I don't really know. He's going to summon Subzitoad. He's going to be able to establish a dupe lock, but this is just game because he can just Black Rose and then make the Armed Wing, and he just wins. So, fucking simple as fuck, right? He's going to set a back row pass, and now 10FD's like, I'm going to think about this for 8 years. I'm going to think about this for 8 million years. I'm going to keep thinking about this. What could I possibly do to win this game? This turn. I suppose I will Black Rose. And, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he was playing around Battle Fader. He's going to have to play into that Battle Fader eventually. Like, should have gone for it last turn, honestly. This was a messy game. I'll be real. This was probably the messiest of the three. There's the Black Rose effect. Chain Legacy doesn't hit the Battle Fader. And then here comes the Armed Wing to attack for game, and there's double Miracle plus Mirror Force in the hand. So Mirror Force was the draw off the Legacy, and Miracle Fusions were just dead the whole game. Once again, I don't really know what Pizza sided in or out, but generally speaking, I actually don't think like you need to leave in Miracles versus Black Wings sometimes, because they kind of just rely on oppression. If you have enough tribute monsters to side in, like even Vanity's Fiend is sometimes just better than a fucking Miracle Fusion, because it's just a big guy you can put into play under Royal Oppression that can be annoying for Black Wings, like force a Kalut or force them to answer it, you know what I mean? And it can't be rugged. It's just like, I don't know. That's kind of, I think, a more consistent game plan than like relying on this pretty difficult to resolve card in a post-board game. But I don't really know if that's like something people do regularly or not. Anyway, this game, big takeaways. Both these players played scared. 10FT played scared in game 1, and I think Pizza played scared in game 3. The not attacking with Caius multiple times definitely cost him the game. And I think from 10FD's side, just not using the Whirlwind in the first game just doesn't make any fucking sense to me, at least personally. And I didn't even know his back row at the time, and I was like, why would you not use the Whirlwind there? I think saving Whirlwind, it makes more sense in matchups like Black Wings versus Black Wings, or Black Wings versus Vayu Turbo, where like a low resource Whirlwind is just going to win you the game. But in matchups that are, especially game 1, entirely about momentum, you just need to gain that momentum, whether it's forcing their back row or whether it's getting that early search or whatever it is. You can't really afford to play a long game against Frogs unless you're like hoping to get lucky. Anyway, moving on to the next match. The next match is going to be Pizza versus Swagger, which is a pretty fun one, actually. I think this was a fun match. We're going to go 2x speed on this bad boy. Anyway, Pizza is playing, I believe, Frog Hero still, and Swagger's playing Lava Golem Amaryllis, which is a list we saw recently from RBET LA with like Vengeful Servant, I believe. No, not RBET LA. RBET Online 4, I think. It plays Vengeful Servant, basically. Anyway, here comes Rhoda. Turn 1 for Swagger, pretty suboptimal. I think in general, one thing that I'm going to call back on multiple times through the next, because Swagger plays this game and then he plays the next game against AJT BLS. One thing I'm going to call back on a lot is I actually think that this is not a good version of the Amaryllis deck, and I still do believe the Quick Draw version to be the best version of Amaryllis, just in like my personal testing and stuff like that. I think that version with like the Upstart Goblins and just like guaranteeing you see your power plays early on. It's like people will be like, I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, Amaryllis is a burn deck. you don't want to give your opponent life points, but like Amaryllis is not a burn deck. People, it's like a burn deck plan C, but like what Amaryllis really is it's a Titanial spam deck. And if you're not spamming Titanial, your deck is just terrible. Like, it is just so bad. You're never burning someone out from 8,000. It's just not happening. You're usually just doing big chunk damage, either hitting with Titanial directly or hitting with Amaryllis directly, or just like clearing paths and then setting up a big graveyard and then maybe burning someone out later in the game. But like, if you just don't get going, if you don't see Trade-In or Lone Fire, your deck just sucks ass. It's just like an unplayable brick fest. And so I think I would rather play more games than like improve my B plan or my C plan like a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm not even going to get to my C plan if I'm getting whatever. Anyway, Dust Shoot happens here, reveals double Lava Golem. And then I told Swagger at this moment, like, something about dying with 2 Lava Golems in hand is pretty embarrassing. And I remember coming back to this later in the games as well. Here comes Hidden Armory. That's going to mill a Trade-In. And this is actually why, let me see if I could pull up my list to this. I think I probably could, actually. Hold on. We'll pull up my list, because when I was building this deck, I have one, I'm not going to pull up my list. I have 1 Lava Golem in it. I have 1 Lava Golem in my list. And the reason I have 1 Lava Golem in my list is because if you ever need the second Lava Golem, you are either playing a different format or you have lost beyond comprehension. Like, you should not resolve 2 Lava Golems in a game with this deck. The first one should win you the game. But, yeah, I don't know. This is just huge pressure from Pizza. He started with the Dust Shoot. He started with the Swap Stratos. And Swagger's just going to brick and concede, because Swap Stratos just plays around Lava Golem. And once you know about Lava Golem, it is infinitely easier to play around. So I think just as a tech card to threaten it, that you can side in and out very easily, it becomes a very strong option select. Having multiples, you're just going to contribute to the brick hands that this deck is already prone to. And it's crazy to say this, like, oh, does one card really make a difference? Does a second Lava Golem or a third Lava Golem really make a difference? It's like, fucking yes. This is one of those decks where it's like, you need one card to unbrick most of your hands. And so every card you add on top of the bricks that you're already mandated to play is going to be huge percentages away from like making sure you have playable games happening. Anyway, yeah, basically. That hand was ass too. He just had a bunch of, I don't even remember what was in his hand. It was like Phoenix Wing and Lava Golem. I also really dislike Phoenix Wing Wind Blast in this deck. I know a lot of people like it. I don't know why. I legitimately cannot tell you why people like Phoenix Wing Wind Blast in this deck. Maybe as a way to discard Amaryllis. But once again, I would rather just play upstarts and quick draws and just draw into my power plays and make sure I am playing the game. Then, like, I don't even think Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is okay with, I guess, in the circumstance of like Phoenix Wing, pitch Titanial, Miracle Fertilizer, back Titanial. In that instance, it is okay. It is not bad. But, yeah, I don't really know, like, why Phoenix Wing. Like, what do you stack in there that you really need to stack? Wouldn't you rather just play, like, a defensive trap and then have, like, extra draws to trade in, like Torrential Mirror Force, that sort of thing? Anyway, Swagger's going to summon Quagmire Gravarose, which is another bad card. This list is playing, like, several, like, quote-unquote bad cards. Gravarose is definitely one of them. Gravarose is a bad card because it requires you to have another plant in hand, and then it also requires your opponent to let it sit and play for a turn. That's never happening. And then even once that happens, once you've met those 2 very annoying conditions to meet, you'd be surprised how annoying they are to meet, especially mid to late game, what you get is you get a Foolish Burial for a Dandelion, which isn't, you could just play Foolish Burial. Like, there are better cards to play than Gravarose, you know what I mean? Like, you can just skip all the middlemen and just send some shit. It does work nicely with Volcanic Counter, but that's like already a kind of suspect way to play this deck, I would say. I don't think it's a bad way to play this deck. I would just say it's a little bit suspect. You can get some cheeky wins with Volcanic Counter. I won't lie. I just think that, like, Gravarose Volcanic Counters is probably not the most powerful way to approach this deck. Anyway, passes the turn, and face Space Typhoon hits a Hidden Armory. In this matchup, generally don't like setting Space Typhoon unless you think a Miracle Fertilizer is coming. But If you do think a Miracle Fertilizer is coming, I kind of like holding the Space Typhoon. Anyway, here comes Treeborn. It's going to be summoned in attack, just so he can run over the tokens. It's funny because Pizza did top 8 with Vayu at the most recent RBET, and he said he just forgot Vayu's defense. And I'm like, you top 8'd with the deck. How could you forget the stats of the monster that your deck that you top 8'd with is named after? It's kind of funny. I mean, it's not the craziest thing, but it's just kind of funny. Anyway, here comes Ryza, target the Graveros just to get it out of play, and now Swagger's going to be drawing a shitty fucking Graveros. Here comes Pitch Special Swap. Swap's going to activate, and when you draw your one of Ryza in Hero Frogs, the Swap Frog is very good. I actually really do like playing a second Ryza just because I think it's one of the better cards in the deck that doesn't get enough. It's good in all of the matchups. It's literally good in every matchup. Like, Ryza is good against Blackwings, it's good against Vayu Turbo, and it's good against Frogs. So it's like good against the top 3 matchups you're going to face. And I think in that instance, like, just play it. It's fucking great. And then on top of that, you get this nice little Ryza lock that happens. He can Swap Frog, bounce the Ryza, and extra normal the dupe. And next turn he can Ryza again. And Swagger's looking at his hand like, what can I fucking do? I'm going to get Ryza again. I have no plays. I have to go for this Lone Fire play. Which I don't know why he was sandbagging the Lone Fire anyway. Like, the earlier you get Titanial, the better. Then you can start committing your other stupid plant monsters, and you can hit for 2,800 every single turn. I think going for not going for the Lone Fire last turn and like sacking the Graveros, what were you waiting for? Literally, what were you waiting for? Like, why would you not sack the Graveros, get Titanial? They have Titanial plus 2 tokens versus Frogs. It doesn't get better than that. Like, what? What the fuck? So on top of like playing a brickier version of the deck, now that he's resolved his powerful synergy, he's like not even going for the payoffs that this deck is supposed to have, I guess. I don't fucking know. Anyway, there's Skill Drain, which gets flipped on the second Ryza, which was down there for the first Ryza, and I'm just like shocked he didn't Skill Drain the first Ryza. Like, why would you want to get stacked once again? That's why I kind of like fiddled with the life points when the first Ryza came down. I think Skill Drain is fine versus Frogs. Like, it's not a bad sideboard card versus Frogs. But it means Titanial will have to tribute itself to actually negate anything. So, yeah, I don't know. And Absolute Zero is still going to cook this shit, so. He's going to bounce the Swap Frog for cost. I was fixing the camera a little bit because it keeps getting tilted. Just passes the turn with the Ryza in play. Anyway, here comes the normal, the Graveros. And he's going to attack with Titanium. He's going to deal 400. Piece is going to drop to 3,000. Or piece is going to drop pretty low. Here, Swagger's going to pass. And I'm going to say, hey, yo, you didn't reveal a plant to the Graveros. Because that is a cost. That is a maintenance cost. It is not an effect that gets negated by Skill Drain. You still have to reveal a plant to keep your Graveros alive. And so Graveros here is actually just going to die. It's just going to... He's reading the card and he's like, wow, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, it comes up a lot when you're playing dragons. Because people will skill drain you, and you still need to reveal a dragon to Draco if you get skill drained. Here comes Ecol. Ecol's going to get Ocean. And yeah, I mean, like, that's a pretty good Ocean. That's a pretty good Ocean. Because now he can set up his miracles. He can set up all his boys. What's the vibe? What is the vibe? He does have Mark of the Rose in hand. He's just going to set a background pass. And now Swagger could just mark the fucking Treeborn attack for game. I don't know why he doesn't do that. He's going to summon Volcanic Counter. And there's Torrential. Just mark the Treeborn in attack. Fuck. What are you waiting for? Oh my god. Yeah, passes the turn back. Now there is a Volcanic Counter in the grave, but Pizza could easily just attack with the Treeborn and make it 0 or whatever. He does have to be careful. He's at 1100. He's going to go ahead and Synchro into Goyo Guardian. Can't attack with the Goyo Guardian quite yet because of the Volcanic Counter, so he just has to pass. Here comes another Volcanic Counter. It's going to crash, and then the second counter is going to kill him for game. So I think a pretty messy game. I think Swagger not realizing how the Graveros worked and like not taking advantage of his initiative to get the Lone Fire down that one turn and sacking the Graveros. Like, People do forget sometimes Lone Fire can sack other plants and then get another Lone Fire and then sack another plant and then go get a Titanial. And then you pass back to your opponent and you have Titanial double Lone Fire. And it's like, okay, maybe they can answer one Lone Fire, but then on the next turn you're going to have two Titanials in play. And that's how Amaryllis should be playing, is by just putting Titanials into play every single turn or threatening to put Titanials into play every single turn. Anyway, this matchup should be good for Amaryllis, but game one, like, Swagger's deck just fell to its own inconsistencies because he has the Lava Golems in his main deck, which, once again, I think is just bad. I think you should, like, side one at most. And then, game two, he almost folded to his own stuff. Skill Drain's an interesting card to side in Amaryllis. It means your Amaryllis will stay alive when it, like, attacks and shit. That's cool. But I don't know, man. I just, like, what are you siding it in versus? You just beat frogs anyway. Like, your effects are just better than theirs. And then, like, you're not siding it against Vayu Turbo or Blackwings because you just don't care about their effects either. You care more about their back row. So, here comes Trade-In. So the first game, Swagger's open with Trade-In, and he's also open with Lone Fire. And you can see that this deck is just on a different level when you are able to do this. When you're able to go Lone Fire, Amaryllis, whatever. Checking the graveyard. End phase, he's going to banish the Lone Fire, special summon the Amaryllis, and now he's got Titanial plus 1 negate. I can't really see what's in his hand. I could if I, like, took time to, like, go back and, like, slow it down. Let's see. Let's check the tapes. Let's see what's in his hand. I feel like he should have committed more cards than this. So he's going to summon these two guys. Pick up your hand, please, one. Pick it up. Okay, there it is. All right, what's in the hand? Let's see. I can't fucking tell. Looks like another Titanial, a Lava Golem. Yeah, so he's got another Titanial, a Lava Golem. This turn, instead of going for the Lone Fire Amaryllis, he could have just Lava Golemed his opponent. But the Titanial Amaryllis is fine too. It really only gets you punished by, like, a few things. One of which would be, like, maybe an absolute 0 or something like that. Anyway, there's Legacy. Legacy's going to get used. What's the vibe now? What's he going to do? Attack the Amaryllis, sack for Caius? That's pretty good. It's actually a pretty good play. Even better yet, he's got a hero into Miracle Fusion, and there's just nothing Swagger can do about this. And that's going to be a huge absolute 0. It's literally like 4,500 or some shit. It's going to attack over Amaryllis, burn Pizza for 800. Pizza's going to drop to 72, and then he's going to get hit for a bajillion over... Swagger's going to get hit for a bajillion with the absolute 0 over the Titanial. Now he's like, okay, I've got to answer absolute 0. I've got to answer this dupe block. How do I do that? Lava Golem. But the problem is it's not an easy answer here because Lava Golem is a 3,000 attack monster that he can't answer. So, like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have other supplemental cards with Lava Golem to make it good. I think Lava Golem is good with stuff like Compulsory Evacuation Device or Phoenix Wingman Blast, but if you don't have those specific synergies, it's pretty bad. He's going to go Lone Fire Sack, probably try to get Dandelion to stay alive, and then bring out the Amaryllis. But what he should do here is actually bring out Titanial and then just bring out the Amaryllis. At least that way, like, I don't know. Maybe this is fine. Maybe double Amaryllis Dandelion is fine. I just don't think it's very good. I think it just loses to what's in play. But I guess Titanial does too. So, what can you do? Maybe he should have saved the DDR play. I don't fucking know. He's going to kill everything, take 16, pass the turn back. Draw for turn is another Lava Golem. And once again, Swagger dies with double Lava Golem in hand. So, turns out Lava Golem's not that good when you don't have back row or when you don't have, like, a lot of stuff, honestly. When you don't have initiative or when you don't have defense, Lava Golem is just giving your opponent a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So, interesting game. I think this matchup is pretty good for frogs. Not for frogs. I think it's pretty good for Amaryllis. I think it's pretty bad for frogs. But I think that, like, if you're playing a bad Amaryllis deck, like, what can I say? it's just not going to be... the difference in Edison format is crazy. Between, like, a 10 card difference in lists can make your deck go from having, like, insanely good matchup to, like, a bad matchup. It's, like, wild. Like, for example, like, let's talk about Lightsworn versus Blackwings. Lightsworn historically loses to Blackwings, right? But if you have, like, a Consecrated Light in your Lightsworn deck, just a 1-of Consecrated Light, all of a sudden your matchup against Blackwings gets better. And that's just a 1 card change. You know what I mean? Let's talk about like a couple card changes. Let's say you decrease the consistency of your deck by a couple cards, aka adding lava golems to your deck, right? Lava golems that don't really convert. Then all of a sudden you're just sitting there with a bunch of like dead cards in your hand in a matchup that you should be winning, and you're just getting beat down by a fucking evil guy, Infernal Prodigy, and you're just like, where did I go wrong? So yeah, I don't know. Food for thought. Consistency and making sure you have the right cards in your deck matters way more than matchups in Edison format, I would say. Just making sure you have the best possible list to play is gonna be a huge. Yeah. Anyway, last match is going to be between AJT BLS and Swagger. AJT BLS recently, with his first Ultimate Time Wizard top in Edison. I expect to see more tops from him. He's a really good player. He has an insane resume in GOAT. I think he's won like 7 or 10 GOAT majors or something crazy like that. Like, he's a really strong player. Anyway, Juan's going to start off with Lone Fire to Titanial. That's like best possible thing you could ask for in this fucking deck. And he's just going to pass back. AJT BLS is going to look at his hand for a long time. For a very long time. But this is the time to think. I think if you're going to spend time thinking, turn 1 is it, because you have the most options turn 1, and you're also trying to figure out like how you navigate the rest of the game. Like, once you start committing to stuff, that's when the thinking should decrease in time. Here comes Whirlwind Sirocco, so AJT BLS knowing to actually activate his Whirlwinds, in contrast to 10FD playing this deck, which is pretty funny. So we got Blackwings versus Amaryllis, and Blackwings is the deck that AJT BLS took to his top 8 performance. He's going to search for Gale. He has a special Gale, and then he's going to activate Gale to have the Titanial, and the Gale is going to get destroyed by Titanial. Then Sirocco is going to be able to attack directly for 2,000. Now, there's a couple different ways you could approach this situation as AJT BLS, and I think that this was one of the worst ways you could approach this situation. I think what you actually want to do is you want a special Gale, and you want to synchro into Colossal Fighter. Colossal Fighter is an extra deck option that has 2,800 attack, so it can crash with Titanial. But Colossal Fighter has an effect that when it's destroyed by battle, it can special summon a warrior from either graveyard, and that includes itself. So you can synchro to Colossal Fighter, crash with Titanial, special back the Colossal Fighter, attack directly for 28. Not only are you ending with a better monster in Colossal Fighter than Sirocco, but you're also dealing 800 more damage. So I think that is the better play here if you're going to go for Gale. Now, that there are other options depending on your hand, depending on your build of Blackwings. Maybe you play a lot of Vayus in your list and you want to get the Sirocco on the grave guaranteed. I still think that going for Colossal Fighter is the best play there. So I think it's like pretty significant to end with a Colossal Fighter versus the Titanial decks, as opposed to ending with Sirocco versus the Titanial decks. Now, Sirocco can pump up follow-up Boras, which is a consideration. Like, if his hand controls Ashura, and he's thinking, okay, next turn I'm going to want to summon, Surge Bora, Special Bora, pump up with Sirocco, and pierce a token or something, sure, Sirocco can get you there. But if you think about it, if you have the Shura and you have a Colossal Fighter in play anyway, you already dealt that extra 800, and your opponent has 2 tokens, you'll just summon the Shura, search the Bora, special the Bora. Bora will pierce one of the tokens, Shura will kill one of the other tokens, and then Colossal Fighter will attack directly, and it's the same. It's like a few points difference damage. It's like negligible, but you get to keep Colossal Fighter, which is like that's the goal. You know, you have the bigger monster than your opponent. Here comes Heavy Storm. There's Chain Legacy of Yatagrasu, so that's like one of the best ways to use Legacy of Yatagrasu is chaining it to spell and trap removal, and that's why that card has seen so much prominence in Edison format lately. And AJT BLS is no stranger to using cards like that. He's played cards like Jar of Greed in GOAT format before as a way to sort of bait Heavy Storm, basically. AJT BLS is actually one of the best players at baiting Heavy Storm. I remember the first game we ever played together, he got me pretty good with a lot of bluffs in his back row. And I still think about that. I'm like, damn, who sets Rhoda? But it turns out AJT BLS knows his shit, and he knows how to like fake a position that's good or fake a position that's not totally stable really well. Here comes Miracle Fertilizer, bring back Titanial. And This is exactly what I'm talking about. Imagine you have a Colossal Fighter here. What the fuck is this Miracle Fertilizer doing? It's doing nothing. So, pretty shitty situation for AJT BLS. Now he just has nothing in play, and he's taking damage. And there's a Titanial. And there's a Miracle Fertilizer, which is going to bring back another Titanial next turn. So it's pretty rough. Miracle Fertilizer is a really strong card. I personally play 3 in my list. I think Swagger's also playing 3. I could be wrong. I think it's like one of the best cards in the deck because it's just summon Titanial from your graveyard. Or summon Lonefire from your graveyard and get Titanial from your deck. So in the Titanial spam deck, the card that spams Titanial is unsurprisingly very good. So yeah, it's also very nice with like if you mill a Titanial or if you foolish Titanial or if you quick draw discard or Phoenix Wingman Blast discard or whatever, trade in discard a Titanial. Like it's just an insane card. Here's Heavy Storm just to prevent the Miracle Fertilizer from further getting value. And as you can see, I mean like Swagger off that one misplay, not making the Colossal Fighter. And that's something about GO format too, is like GO format doesn't use its extra deck. You're not used to having that mental pathway of like, oh, I have a tuner and a non-tuner, I'm going to make Colossal Fighter. So even though AJT BLS is a really, really good like fundamental player, maybe it's something still a little bit new for him to think like, I'm going to make this Synchro that I know I have access to in my extra deck. It's something that, it's just, if you're not used to accessing your extra deck, it's something that takes a little bit of getting used to for sure. Anyway, here comes Charge of the Light Brigade. That's going to mill Raikou, Morphing Jar, and Brain, and that's actually going to be Swagger's last target on Charge of the Light Brigade. Looks like he's playing Charge with only 2 targets, which I can't recommend, but I've done it in the past, and I don't know. It's still good enough to play. It's still worth playing, so I think Charge is always better than the 3rd Raikou in Amaryllis specifically. He's going to move his Amaryllis over. I'm going to try to get it unglared a little bit there. Like I said, I was trying to fix the glare in some of these matches, just so you could see the cards a little bit better. But in future episodes of Stacked, we will have the glare sorted out. The lighting will be better for sure. Anyway, just a pass from AJT BLS. Swagger's going to think for 8 billion years. This game, both players thought for way too long. Like, this is a turn where, like, let's go back again. The turn gets passed right around here. Okay, so that's 627. Juan's going to think. He's going to look at his graveyard. And he's going to think. And he's going to look at his graveyard. And his hand's not that different, you know what I mean? It's not that different than it was last turn, right? He's going to look at his graveyard. He's going to think, look at his graveyard. He's going to think, look at his graveyard. We're at the half-minute mark now. We're at the 45 second. We're approaching the 45-second mark. He's thinking, looking at his graveyard again. The graveyard hasn't changed one. There's nothing there. There's nothing in your graveyard. And then here he goes, after a full minute of thinking, flip Raikou, target the back row. Which is just a misplay. It's just a misplay. It's just straight up a misplay. Never flip the Raikou here. You give your opponent a face-up Raikou to do stuff with, like attack with Shura, and then make Catastor, which is an out to the Titanial. And also, this back row is, if you trade Mirror Force for Titanial, that's fine. Like, but the 3,000 damage here, you can find later. You also don't even have to attack with Titanial this turn if you don't want to. But flipping the Raikou is definitely a mistake. It also plays into this card, Torrential Tribute. Mills 3, and there goes your Titanial. You're now out your Titanial. You're now out all your good stuff, basically. And you can see a card in his hand. He's got that Lava Golem. He's got that Volcanic counter. These cards that are just really, really not good cards to have in your Amaryllis deck because they break. And they don't proactively do anything. They only reactively do anything. And when your opponent has 2 monsters and you sack it for Lava Golem, it's like, you've already taken those hits, you know? It's like already too late at that point. Anyway, here comes set another monster pass. Once again, this is just like exposing you to like fucking Shura shenanigans if AJT ever gets there. But it looks like he's still missing on monsters. Hidden Armor is going to get played. It's going to mill Titanial. That would have been actually a good draw because he could double sack his monsters for Titanial. So, yeah, pretty unfortunate. Pretty unlucky circumstances. And then, yeah, just keeps checking his grave. I think that these few turns took fucking forever. Like, on God. It's like, you don't have plays, just play the game, you know what I mean? Just be like, next turn, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to spend so much time bluffing your opponent. Here comes set 3 from AJT BLS, set 4 actually, signifying a Solemn Judgment or a Starlight Road. Pass the turn back to Swagger. Swagger thinking here, still thinking. He's going to normal summon his Quagmire Graveros. So this is the card that we saw in the last game. Torrential is gone, so this guy's pretty safe. But this could get like bottom list or something. I don't know. It's pretty decent pressure here, actually. I think it does fine. And face, he had to reveal a plant. And I believe he revealed like a dandelion or something. I don't remember exactly what it revealed. I think it was a dandelion. AJT reading the card again. Checking his hand. Checking his hand. Checking his hand. Checking his hand. Checking his back row. Checking his hand. Checking his back row. What's my back row? Checking his back row. Checking his hand. Oh my gosh, what's in my graveyard? I don't know what's in my graveyard. I've only played 3 cards this game, but I definitely don't remember what's in my graveyard. Bora Search Blizzard off Whirlwind. There it is. There it is. Not going to search Clute, so not really fearing the Graveros potential. Maybe just doesn't want to take too much damage off of a Volcanic counter. I don't know if there's one in grave. I don't think there was a Volcanic counter in grave. Yeah, I didn't see one. He just passes the turn, and then during the standby phase, Graveros is going to send the Volcanic counter. So AJT kind of just letting Swagger do his thing. Yeah, there we go. I put a dice under the card to fix the glare eventually at some point. But yeah, Swagger's just sitting here with no conversions. Imagine he had Quick Draw Dandy here instead of Lava Golem Dandy. Dude, it would have been a different story. The game would have been over so fast. He would have had Titanial Drill going with hella tokens. Oh my god. Instead, we're looking at set Volcanic counter past the turn. I cannot condone this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, duelists. I cannot condone such shitty builds. I just cannot. Swagger swears by it, but I cannot condone it. I simply cannot. Anyway, reads Volcanic counter for the 5th fucking time. This game is 15 minutes long, and nothing has happened. He summoned 1 Titanium. Here comes Mark of the Rose. That's going to be met with something. Icarus Attack. Okay, Icarus Attack here should target the Graveros. But it's going to target the Dandelion and the counter that were set, and there's going to be 2 tokens. So we got the Graveros plus the 2 tokens in play. Titanial's banished off the Mark of the Rose. DDR could bring that back if he wanted to. But if he DDRs here... So this is something that I think Juan... I don't know if he realized, but he could DDR, or he should DDR, pitch Dandelion and special Titanial. You would miss out on getting the 2 extra Dandelion tokens, but I think just getting Titanial and Graveros into play and attacking for that much damage is super important. He would also probably have to destroy his own Graveros end phase, which sucks, but if you can connect for 4,700, then you have 2 counters in grave versus Blackwings, you probably just fucking win. Like, it's probably just over. You know his hand has Blizzard in it. Blizzard doesn't beat Titanium plus tokens. Just doesn't. So, he's reading the counters yet again. Still, he's like, do I understand the counters? Do we understand Volcanic counter yet? Has it happened? Have we understood? Is the understanding happening? And after this game, I will tell you, this was the first game we played all day, and I was like, I'm going to start telling you guys when time would be called, because this is so long. This shit is so long. Anyway, there's a Mirror Force that's going to eat the Graveros, so maybe for the best he didn't DDR and go full commit there, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have made the play into the Mirror Force. That's just me. Here, Swagger sets 2 cards, which I cannot condone because Icarus Attack is a real card. And there comes M-Phase Space Typhoon. And here comes Blizzy. Blizzy bring back the boy. And Swagger's just in a bad spot. That being said, he probably would have been in a tough spot had he gotten Colossal Fighter turn 1. Although, it would have made his Mark of the Rose go crazy. Me fixing the camera a little bit, make sure it's on center, even though it's not really on center. Fucking... This is just a scuffed episode. But you guys are seeing it unfold. Here comes Blizzy, bring back Bora, Allure of Darkness. The Bora looks super cool in that lighting. I don't know why. The hollow Bora looks tight. Allure is going to banish. What are you going to banish, AJT? What are you going to banish? What could it possibly be? Vayu? Just kidding. Obviously, it's going to be Vayu. Here comes Synchro, and now we're finally accessing the extra deck. And it's going to make Armed Ring. That's going to pierce a token for 28, dropping Swagger down to 3,200. The cool part about this is or actually no, the counters are both going to activate, and they're going to ping AJT BLS for a lot of damage. I don't update the life points here for a little while, but basically AJT took 56. It drops down to 16. And Swagger took 28 and dropped down to 1300. There we go, yeah. It's going to mill Lone Fire Blossom. He's going to grab back Mark of the Rose, I believe. Here comes Solemn Judgment on the Hidden Armory. So he can't grab back Mark of the Rose or search Mark of the Rose. Dropping AJT BLS down to 800. Lava Golem would be lethal here, but there's only one monster in play. So it's just a break. Yet again. Kind of crazy how much that card breaks. Set monster, set back row pass. Draw for turn. The set monster is probably Dandelion. Probably just trying to stay alive at this point. Boro wins the game, I think. Asking to see the graveyard again. There's nothing new in the graveyard. Normal summon Shura. Activate Whirlwind. Gonna search for probably Kalut. That's what I would search for. Because I'd be attacking the token with the Armed Wing with Kalut for game. He's gonna think for a while, but I mean that's just always the play. Grab Kalut. Armed Wing attack the token. And that's gonna be the game. So really, really, really long game one. 23 minutes. For a game that probably should not have taken that long. If you think about everything that was played that game, it was like, on Swagger's side, it was like Titanial, Gravirose, one Mark of the Rose. That's it. 23 minutes to play 3 cards. And then on AJT's side, he had Whirlwind, Sirocco, don't make Colossal Fighter, so that doesn't make any sense. Set a bunch of back row, Solemn the card that matters, attack for game. In 23 minutes. It's like you can sum it up in like 5 seconds what happened in that game. So, and this is an unfamiliar matchup for AJT, and this is probably an unfamiliar matchup for Swagger too, because Swagger's never played against Blackwings before. Nah, I'm just roasting him because he's not here. Happy birthday, Swagger's in the chat. It was his birthday, so cut him a little slack that he doesn't know how to play the Blackwing matchup with Amaryllis. I would have full sent to that Mirror Force. There was a few other things I would have done differently as Swagger, but I just think you need to understand like how to set up a position where it's like Titanial plus dudes so that you eat their battle phase and then keep the Titanial in play, basically. That is the position you're trying to set up. It's kind of hard to do it, but you got to do it. Dash the wave. Anyway, I'm going to skip past some sideboarding. I will say, though, that Miracle Fertilizer is fucking crazy in this matchup. It's so good. All right. Shuffly, 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 shuffly. Draw for turn, set monster, set 4 back row. Most obvious Morphing Jar of all time. AJT BLS knows from the last game, there's not that much back row. By the way, sideboarding took them 4 minutes. So they're already at 27 minutes on the clock going into game 2. It's pretty slow. That's pretty slow. When you are practicing with your boys, I would say just have a timer going. Here comes Nobleman of Crossout, and that's going to banish a Morphing Jar. And now Swagger has committed all of his hand, which is likely a bunch of dead cards, into possible Icarus attacks, which is never where you want to be. So here comes set 3, pass the turn. Swagger checking his back row like any of it's real. It's not, spoiler alert. His hand has Lava Golem in it. And then on AJT's turn, he passes the turn back. He's going to flip summon Shura, which is something I want to talk about a little bit that I think not a lot of Blackwing players do enough of. If you don't have Whirlwind and you do have defense, setting a Blackwing monster gives you an opportunity. I don't know if it was correct in this specific circumstance because it was a set jar. You could have read that a lot of those back row were bad. So you could have just summoned the Shura and like attacked, and it probably would have been fine. But if like your goal is to get a monster down through bottomless trap hole, let's say your hand is like Shura, D-Prison. I don't know. That's just the example I'm giving. But you can set Shura, set D-Prison, pass the turn back. Your opponent will like set their bottomless, pass the turn back, or they'll try to attack you and you can D-Prison it. And then on your turn, you flip Shura, the bottomless, and then you can normal summon the other Shura. And it's a deck that like otherwise has a lot of difficulty playing into summon stops can access another summon in a turn is by sort of setting a monster to sandbag that summon to overload bottomlesses on later turns. This is also done a lot in GOAT format, and it's something that a lot of good players do that we haven't really seen a lot of and talked about a lot of in this type of stuff. So really heads up play from AJT BLS. I mean, like, it's just like shows the type of player he is. Like he knows how to he has a very good understanding of like tempo and like a very good understanding how to overload the cards in play, basically. Anyway, Charge is gonna search Raikou, and then probably just gonna set the Raikou. Milled a Volcanic counter, which is neat, but no Titanium. Oh, there was a Titanium milled, I believe. Yeah, there was a Titanium milled, and I believe there's a Miracle Fertilizer in the hand. So if Swagger wanted to, he could just shotgun the Miracle Fertilizer right now. But I think getting the Raikou down is better because it can hit the back row and kind of wake you up. Or not wake you up, but like get you cooking. Here comes, I believe, Bora. It's either Bora or Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. I think it might be Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer because it's a post-board game. Here comes Icarus Attack. Icarus Attack is going to hit another back row, but it's going to hit a chainable in Dust Tornado. Now, if I remember correctly, that was the only chainable in his back row. Yeah, that is Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. GOAT format staple, and honestly insane card in this matchup because it's just going to be able to activate and then banish the Volcanic counter. Unlucky for AJT BLS, he's not going to banish the Titanial, and he's going to get owned by Miracle Fertilizer here. But yeah, in a lot of circumstances here, you could just banish the Titanial as well. And it's kind of the strength of Miracle Fertilizer. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you don't banish it, then Fertilizer can get you, and if you do banish it, then DDR can get you, or Hidden Armory into DDR can get you. But generally speaking, it's better to force them to DDR it because DDR costs a discard. So if you have to pick between losing to one of them, you should pick losing to DDR. And then it also means that their Hidden Armory is not going to get Mark of the Rose. So it kind of cuts them off that way. On top of that, in the graveyard, you do see a Hidden Armory there already. And then you saw Swagger on the last turn thinking quite a bit about what he wanted to do before setting the Raikou, which shows that he had something to do that that could have taken priority over using his normal summon. So I think that there's a slight chance that if you're like super plugged in, you could read Miracle Fertilizer here, but realistically, like it's a 50-50, but I generally err on the side in the Amaryllis matchup of forcing them to DDR because it costs a card, whereas Miracle Fertilizer doesn't. There's Giant Trunade. Here comes Miracle Fertilizer. Now something Swagger could have done was actually Miracle Fertilizer first and then Giant Trunade after, but he only has one target in the grave, so if it gets bottomless, it's pretty feels bad moment if you don't use your Trunade now. He's going to attack over the Kaiku and deal first damage on AJT BLS, putting him down to 7,000. And he's going to set one more background pass. I believe he has another Miracle Fertilizer in hand. This is when the Amaryllis deck really shines, is when you're just spamming Titanials. I've said this a million times before. I'll say it 1,000,001. If you're not spamming Titanials, your deck isn't working. It's just not doing what it should be doing. And so everything in your deck should contribute to you spamming Titanials, whether it's extra draw cards like Legacy or Upstart to help you find ways to get Titanial into the graveyard or into play, or it's stuff like whatever. Anyway, another thing that AJT BLS likes to do that I mentioned is bluff back row, and there he had a set Allure of Darkness, which is going to activate. So that's a pretty good bluff back row there, but did Swagger attack? I don't even remember. He might not have even attacked because of the bluff Allure of Darkness, so setting Allure of Darkness there just bought AJT BLS 2,800 life points, which is fucking crazy. Like, that's just really good. Oh no, he did attack. He attacked over the Kaiku, I believe. No, he didn't attack over the Kaiku. Anyway, set monster ends up being Dinah. Dinah ends up clearing the Miracle Fertilizer Titanial. And now there is another Miracle Fertilizer that he could go for, and he's going to go ahead and do it, bringing out the Titanial. Passes the turn back. He says, okay, have another out. I'm just going to keep spamming Titanials. Miracle Fertilizer is the best card in Swagger's deck right now. Once you get to the point where Titanial is in rotation, which should be consistently early every single game, Miracle Fertilizer is the best card in your deck. So that's why you play 3. It's going to attack. It's a second Dinah. So Dinah really showing that not only is it good at shutting out the Amaryllis players, but it's good at coming back against established boards from the Amaryllis players. I think Dinah's the single best card versus Amaryllis. If you're struggling with the matchup, it's definitely the best card to side. By far. Like, I don't think there is another card that's better than Dinah. Anyway, here comes Lone Fire for Titanial. So this is the third Titanial hitting play. Is this one finally going to connect, or is he just not going to attack with it? I don't know if I'd attack with it because you risk like playing into D prison. But once again, AJT BLS with the bluff back row, and it was Black Whirlwind. But that's going to be met with a Space Typhoon, and Space Typhoon's going to clear the Whirlwind. Just passes the turn back. Draw for turn is Amaryllis, I believe. So trade-in, obviously the best possible card here, but yeah, here comes Hidden Army. He's going to mill in Amaryllis, which is really good for Swagger, and he's going to search Mark of the Rose. So he has the potential for a really big turn this turn. He can go Mark of the Rose, banish Lone Fire, take the Sirocco, attack, or switch Titanial to defense, actually, and then attack, which I wouldn't hate. He's going to attack for 2k, and AJT is just going to concede the game because he sees the writing on the wall. So, yeah, that was a pretty tough game. I think Swagger's deck just got going. It got the Titanials being spammed. And like I said, once you're doing that, most decks can't beat that. Like, most decks just lose to Titanial, and then a couple Amaryllis at the end. Even if you've given your opponent 3,000 life points with 3 Upstart Goblins, most people are not beating Titanial just hitting you 5 times. Like, it's just not something a lot of decks can do. We were actually discussing this while they were sideboarding, but there's so many cards in Edison format that target that you think wouldn't, like Sirocco targets, Gale targets, fucking D-Prison, Icarus Attack, Dark Arm Dragon, Brain Control, Caius, like literally everything that can out or resolve Titanial targets. Almost everything. There's a couple cards that don't target, but for the most part, everything does target. And so, in a sense, if you have Titanial plus other plant monsters in play, it's like the closest thing you can get to like a Herald of Perfection situation in Edison format. And I think the best way to play, I mean, I've said this a million times, I'll say it 1,000,001. The best way to play Amaryllis is just spam Titanial because it is straight up Herald of Perfection in this format. It is straight up so insanely good. It stops Dust Tornado on your Mark of the Rose. It just stops everything. It stops fucking everything except like Kalut, Honest, DD, Warrior Lady, JD, Mirror Force Torrential, and then Black Rose, I guess. But like outside of all that, Fossil Dyna and post-board games, you're pretty safe. I honestly think like if you're going to play trap cards in Amaryllis, you could also make an argument to play like Starlight Road, because Starlight Road plus Titanial is a really good combo. Anyway, pile shuffling. Once again, if you've taken a million years, don't pile shuffle, and in general, don't pile shuffle. It's a waste of time. Just riffle shuffle like 8 times and you're good to go. Anyway, skipping forward, AJT is going to start off with Whirlwind Shura. I didn't see what he searched. Let's go back a bit. He's going to Whirlwind, Shura, search Blizzy. So, kind of telegraphing a little Kalut action already. Kind of telegraphing a little Bora action already. Set back row pass. Swagger's going to look at his hand. He's going to deep think. This game, I believe, is a pretty close one. This is a pretty intense game. I mean, starting off with Whirlwind going first is obviously a huge boon for Blackwings, but I do think that even in these circumstances, Titanial spam is good. I still think even in these circumstances, like, there's a lot of stuff that can go right. AJT is going to go ahead and fire his Legacy now. And I don't know why he did that. Maybe he's trying to find Heavy Storm. Maybe he's trying to find another normal summon. I'm just not really sure. He's going to go ahead and sacrifice the Shura for Sirocco, and that's going to be met with a Space Typhoon on the Whirlwind. So, overall, ending up net even into the Whirlwind with just one Space Typhoon from Swagger because of that sacrifice play, but he's going to take 2,000 damage for it, so a little bit here or there. There's a Burial from the Different Dimension found. It's a card that works with Volcanic counters and like the Amaryllis stuff, but I think it's just yet another card that's only good once you're set up, and it's one of those perfect cards that you could cut for just like another consistency card to make sure that your strategy ever gets going. Not a big fan of Burial from the Different Dimension in this deck. I'm also not a big fan of Volcanic Counter in general. I think it's like one of those cards that like anyone with a brain can play around once they know about it, and you're just basically forced to side it out in so many different matchups. It's kind of ass, I'm not gonna lie. It's only like really, really good when you're super, super far ahead. Or if you're not maining them. Because if you're not maining them, then people won't prepare for them, and then post-board, like, you drop them on them, and they're like, oh, shit, what the fuck do I do? So this is where the thinking gets, like, a little bit intense and out of hand. Finally. Special Summon Gale, main phase 1. Is he going to Synchro now? So here's an interesting moment. I actually think the correct Synchro to make here is Thought Ruler Archfiend. The reason why I think making Thought Ruler Archfiend is good here is because, yes, if you're going to Synchro, they could have Torrential Tribute So Stardust Dragon is good. They could have Mirror Force. That's good, right? But they are actually more likely to have Hidden Armory for Mark of the Rose or Phoenix Wing Windblast than they are to have Torrential Mirror Force. Because they usually play 3 Phoenix Wing, 1 Torrential, 1 Mirror Force, or sometimes not even Mirror Force. Sometimes they play 3 Windblast, 1 Torrential. So there's really no reason to play around anything else than just go for the synchro play. I think the actual best play is to just attack with the Sirocco. I think that's just the best play. But in order to play around Mark of the Rose, I would go for Thought Ruler. And then on top of that, there's other things you can do with Thought Ruler, like gain life points against Amaryllis coming back. Like things that can make it really, really hard for your opponent to win. But Mark of the Rose is the biggest consideration. They play 4 copies of it. And then on top of that, they also play 3 copies of Phoenix Wing Windblast, usually. So, yeah. Stars is going to get made. Here comes normal Blizzy. Blizzy can bring back the Shura. And then, now that you've made the Stardust, what you can actually do is just make Bionic. Just bounce the back row and attack for game. What's he going to have? Literally, what's he going to have? Just make Bionic. Win the game. There's no consideration here. It's like, okay, force him to have the Windblast then. And if he had Windblast, then you should have just gone for Thought Ruler and not summon the Blizzy. You feel me? And the reason I think it's not Torrential too is because when he specials Gale, he would flip Torrential there. He would take his 2-for-1. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason he wouldn't take his 2-for-1 on that summon. Like, waiting there before he can make Stardust just doesn't make sense. So it's already confirmed it's not Torrential. You know what I mean? That's why you should make Thought Ruler there. For sure. Yeah. I don't know if he extra decks Thought Ruler or not, but I'm pretty sure he does. Anyway, he's going to Synchro here, and he's going to make Armed Wing. Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly either Bionic or Thought Ruler. Here comes Phoenix Wing, discard Dandy, get 2 tokens. Stardust can attack over one of the tokens, which it should. And then sets the back row and passes. So the Stardust is at least protecting the back row, but should have been a Thought Ruler in play. I probably shouldn't have gone for the Blizzard quite yet. Trade-in's going to pitch Titanial, and now Mark of the Rose is live, if that's something that Swagger wants to go for. And I believe he does have access. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he does. The camera keeps getting bumped with this setup. I am so sorry, guys. It's just one of those things that we have with like one of the last-minute setup, basically. Huge think here from Swagger. I actually think that this is like a fair bit too long to think. He's probably trying to piece together lethal, though. See if he can do it. So, he's going to go for... What's he going to go for? Miracle Fertilizer. I don't like this play. I actually think this play is quite bad. I think you should Mark of the Rose the Stardust first, banishing the Dandelion. Because then Stardust can defend your Miracle Fertilizer from Royal Oppression. You can also defend it from Space Typhoon. And then on top of that, you can just attack him from there. Here comes Mark of the Rose second. This is just bad sequencing. You should always mark the Stardust first. Like, what if he had an out there? What if he had something to stop the Mark of the Rose there? Like, let's say he has Space Typhoon. He spaces Mark. You can't negate with Titanial because then Stardust can negate the Titanial. So you just lose the mark for no reason. When you could have just marked first. There's no reason to go for the Miracle first. Just risks in a Space Typhoon. He's going to go for Hidden Armory, mill the Lone Fire. And if you were going to Hidden Armory, you should have actually played that card first. Maybe he was trying to wait to see if the Mark of the Rose would get destroyed by Space Typhoon. But after you've already Miracle Fertilized and your Titanial is resolved, then you should Miracle Fertilizer first to see if you mill something that you'd rather banish with Mark of the Rose instead. Because if you're comfortable searching DDR, he's going to search for Vengeful Servant here, which is kind of a meme card. But in reality, what you should do is just hold the Hidden Armory and not go for this, because this play is just like really messy. Here's second Miracle Fertilizer. This is Maximum Greed. This is going to be a game shot, provided there's no Mirror Force, but what the fuck else is back there if it's not Mirror Force? Like, is it Legacy plus Solemn plus... I don't know. This is a post-board game. He probably sided out a Solemn. I don't know. Here comes another Titanial. Here comes Torrential, which gets negated by Stardust, but if you're AJT, you're just happy you're not dying this turn. Honestly. Now the Vengeful Servant does nothing, so it's just like such a weird turn where like a bunch of stuff just ended up being sequenced wrong. There also like would be 5 minutes into time here. But yeah. Tax directly. AJT drops to 1900. But now what, right? Also awkward, I believe the last Titanial was in Swagger's hand. Could be wrong though. Anyway, AJT has to deal 4,000, which he has Mind Control in hand, which doesn't do anything versus Titanial, obviously. You just sack whatever he targets with Mind Control if he wanted to. He probably has a way to deal this damage. If he can ladder to Colossal Fighter. I don't know if he can do that, but if he could. Can't quite see his hand. I thought I saw a Blizzard in there. He's just asking a whole bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of questions. We got to skip forward a bit, though, because this is taking a million years. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Here comes normal Shura. Alright, there's normal Shura. Shura, at the very least, can make a Catastor here, and that just wins the game. But instead, he attacks with Stardust, not getting him a Vayu that can synchro him into Catastor that can beat the 2 Titanials that are in play. So now what? Why did you summon the Shura? I don't know. Do you have a Kalut? Perhaps. Perhaps not. Who knows? Anyway, he's just going to ask a bunch more questions, and then think more, and then attack Titanial, finally, after 8 million years, using Kalut. That was 5 minutes, that whole sequence. Oh my gosh. And he's going to special summon Vayu from his deck, unless he sided it out or it's in his hand. He's going to activate Shura. This could even make Armor Master. This could make a million different things. Alright. Oh my gosh. What are you going to get? What are you going to get? Dude, this turn is insane. 7-minute turn. That's crazy. We must have been having a crazy conversation or something, but this took 4 fucking ever. Anyway, here comes Vayu. Synchros. Synchros, question mark. Synchros, question mark. Or are we just leaving the Vayu in play? Synchros, question mark? Let's think about it further. Maybe we don't synchro here. Maybe we don't make Catastor, which beats the Titanial. You're right. Let's make Android. 8 fucking minutes to make Android instead of Catastor, which beats the threat in play. Bruh. Oh my god. So frustrating. This was a very frustrating game to watch for me because I'm just sitting on the sidelines. I'm like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to influence the game and influence the footage. But oh my god, just make fucking Catastor. Imagine if it was a Thought Ruler, he could have gained 12 with the fucking Android. It would have been a huge flex. Oh my gosh, this whole game is crazy. That being said, Thought Ruler would have been pretty bad on the previous turn where it wouldn't have been able to negate the Torrential. Actually, the Torrential would have just gone through, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Thought Ruler would have been insane there too. Man. Fucking crazy. Holy shit. Lava Golem. Sacrifice Armwing and Stardust. Finally, after 18 misplays, Lava Golem finally does something. Holy shit, what a game. His hand is so ass, though. It's Vengeful Servant, Burial from a Different Dimension, Lava Golem, and I believe Raikou. Miracle Fertilizer is going to bring out a second Titanial. But now what do? Attack the Lava Golem. Okay, Lava Golem dies. Attacks the Android. Okay, deals 100. Swagger's at 16. AJT BLS is at 2100. Draws for turn. What does he have? What is going on? Why did he not make Catastor? What is happening here? Titanial's not a dark monster. Catastor destroys non-dark monster. So much has had to happen for this game to be where it's at. Set Blizzard. You would not believe your eyes. Fucking Owl City ass beat. Anyway, here comes Miracle Fertilizer. Bring back. Lone Fire activates. Goes and gets whatever third titanium with 3 titanium in play. How could he possibly lose this game? Fossil fucking Dyna. That's how. Just kidding, it wasn't set Blizzard. It was a set Fossil Dyna. And that's why Fossil Dyna is insane versus this deck. And now all of a sudden Swagger has nothing. And there's the Blizzard. That's the card I thought he set. But it was in his hand, so. Yeah, Blizzard's going to activate. He's just going to bring something back and he's just going to win. It's going to be just a game shot. It's going to be a game shot. It's going to be a game shot. He has no back row. He's going to synchro. You're going to synchro here. You're going to synchro here. You're going to synchro. Mind control. Check. Take the set monster. Oh my god, he didn't synchro. Oh my god, he didn't go for game. Oh my god, what is happening? Flip right go. Target random back row. Chain burial. Put the Dandelion back. Mill 3 cards. Why has one not conceded? Why is this recording still going on? His 2 back rows are bluffs. His Vengeful Servant and some other shit. Please just attack directly. Icarus attack. Hit the other 2. Oh my gosh, he has infinite game. Oh my gosh, okay. That was a tough one to watch, folks. That was a tough one to watch. Honestly, these games were like mentally draining. We played a lot of different matches. These were just the 3 that we ended up recording. But playtesting is crazy. When you're playtesting against good players, like for some reason, like even these are, I would say, some of the best players in the world. And these guys are like, they're making some interesting plays. They're thinking, they're overthinking, they're overcooking. They're like making some pretty rookie mistakes. So it's definitely good to watch your footage back and be like, oh yeah, I definitely could have done that better. I could have done that better too. I could have done that better too. I think there's a lot to be learned here. There are some really cool plays, I think, particularly from AJT in these sessions, and particularly from AJT that I learned a lot from. I think watching him play, and I believe he is also going to be doing his own coverage of his match on his YouTube channel. I'm gonna send him the footage of it, and he's going to be talking through his thought process on this game, which is very cool. You're going to be able to see a top player's first experience versus Amaryllis Burn, and his initial thoughts versus the deck, which is going to be really cool. So make sure and check him out and check out his channel and show him some love. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.